When my only daughter filed a lawsuit against me for my inheritance, I collapsed in the courtroom hallway. Days later, I was digging through 30 years of family photos looking for evidence against her. That's when I realized life is just a bakery. Sometimes the sweetest people are filled with the most bitter intentions. If you're watching this, hit subscribe and tell me where you're from. Because trust me, this story twists more than the pretzels I used to bake in my shop. My name is Eva Matthews, and for 48 years, I've lived by one simple rule: control what you can, prepare for what you can't. It served me well building our family bakery into a respected brand. It got me through losing Richard, my husband, to cancer 5 years ago. And I thought it would guide me through the rest of my life with my daughter, Clara, by my side. How wrong I was. It started with a certified letter 3 months ago. At first, I thought it was just another business matter for the bakery. I was in the kitchen testing a new chocolate ganache recipe. Clara was supposed to come by to taste it. She was always my best critic. The doorbell rang, and I wiped my hands on my apron, leaving chocolate fingerprints as I signed for the envelope. Mr. Matthews. The delivery man confirmed, looking at me over his clipboard. Yes, that's me, I replied, slightly annoyed at the interruption. The letter was from a law firm I didn't recognize. Brewster, Holden and Associates. The weight of the envelope felt ominous in my hands. I tore it open right there on my porch, the spring breeze rustling the paper. Dear Mrs. Matthews, we regret to inform you of the passing of your uncle, Arthur Matthews. Uncle Arthur? I hadn't seen him in nearly 20 years. He was Richard's eccentric uncle who lived in his family's old estate upstate. He'd made a fortune in real estate investment and had always been kind but distant. The last time we spoke was at Richard's funeral, a brief, awkward conversation about keeping in touch that neither of us followed through on. But there it was in black and white. Uncle Arthur had passed away at 92, and shockingly, had named me as the primary beneficiary of his estate. Estimated value of $4 million. The ganache on the stove burned as I stood frozen, reading those words over and over. Script part separator, ===. I called Clara immediately. She didn't answer, so I sent a text. Something incredible happened. Need to talk. Come over ASAP. 2 hours later, my kitchen was spotless again, but my mind was a mess. Clara finally arrived, her expression tight when she walked through the door. Sorry I'm late, Mom. Work was crazy. She glanced at her phone while kissing my cheek. Always distracted lately. Sit down, honey. You won't believe this. I pushed the letter across the counter. I watched her face as she read, the widening eyes, the quick intake of breath. But something was off. The surprise didn't seem genuine. $4 million. She whispered. That's, wow. I know. It's unbelievable. I barely knew him. Clara set the letter down carefully. When's the reading of the will? Next week. The lawyer wants me in his office Monday at 10. I'll come with you, she said quickly. Too quickly. Don't you have that presentation? I'll reschedule. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. This is more important. That night, I couldn't sleep. The inheritance felt like a life raft thrown to me after treading water since Richard's death. The bakery was profitable but demanding. At 58, the physical toll of baking was catching up with me. Maybe I could finally retire. Travel. Maybe even expand the business and let someone younger manage day-to-day operations. But Clara's reaction bothered me. We'd always been close, or so I thought. Since Richard died, she'd become more distant, canceling our Sunday dinners, always too busy with work or her friends. I chalked it up to grief and her building her own life at 28. The next morning, I called my friend Diane. $4 million. She gasped. Eva, that's incredible. I know. I'm still in shock. What will you do with it? I'm not sure yet. Maybe help Clara with a down payment on a house. She's been talking about buying for years. Diane was quiet for a moment. Just be careful, Eva. What do you mean? Money changes people. Even the ones you think you know best. Script part separator, ===. I didn't take Diane's warning seriously enough. Monday arrived, and Clara picked me up in her sleek Audi, a car I always thought was too expensive for her marketing salary. We drove to the lawyer's office in silence, her fingers tapping anxiously on the steering wheel. Brewster and Holden occupied the top floor of a glass tower downtown. The receptionist led us to a conference room where a silver-haired man in an impeccable suit waited. "Mrs. Matthews, I'm James Brewster. I handled your uncle's affairs for over 30 years. His handshake was firm, his smile practiced. He nodded to Clara. "And this is my daughter, Clara Matthews." We sat across from him as he opened a leather portfolio. "Before we begin, I should clarify, your uncle was quite specific about his wishes." "Of course," I said, folding my hands on the table. He slid a document toward me. "This is the formal notification of your inheritance. The estate consists of the family home valued at $1.2 million, investment accounts totaling $2.7 million, and personal property worth approximately $100,000. I felt lightheaded looking at the numbers. "I still don't understand why he chose me." Brewster's expression softened. "Arthur never had children of his own. He always spoke fondly of your husband, his nephew Richard. And he admired how you built your business together." I blinked back unexpected tears. "We only spoke a handful of times. He followed your success from afar. The bakery chain you expanded? He kept every newspaper clipping." "I had no idea," I whispered. Clara cleared her throat. "Is there anything else we should know about the terms?" Something in her tone made Brewster look at her more carefully. "There are conditions, yes. The full inheritance transfers to your mother immediately. However, there's a stipulation that 20% should be designated for charitable purposes of her choosing." Clara's posture stiffened. "That's it? No other provisions?" "No," Brewster said, watching her reaction. "Your mother has complete discretion over the remaining 80%. I noticed a muscle twitching in Clara's jaw. What was she expecting? Script part separator, equals. On the drive home, Clara was unusually quiet. I was bubbling with plans, renovating the bakery's kitchen, maybe opening that second location we'd always talked about. "You could quit that marketing job you hate," I said, excitement making me chatty. "We could run the business together like your father and I planned." "Mom." Her voice was sharp. "Let's not get ahead of ourselves." "What do you mean?" She sighed, knuckles white on the steering wheel. "This is a lot of money. You need professional advice before making any decisions." "I know, honey. I thought we could meet with a financial advisor together." "I already have someone in mind," she interrupted. "My friend Jason. He's brilliant with estate planning." I frowned. "Jason? I don't think you've mentioned him before." "He's helped several of my friends. I'll set up a meeting for tomorrow." Something felt off, but I dismissed it. Clara had always been the practical one. Jason Thomas's office was sleek and intimidating. He couldn't have been more than 35, with sharp features and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Mrs. Matthews, what a pleasure. Clara's told me so much about you." "Funny, she's told me nothing about you," I said, trying to keep my tone light. An awkward silence followed before he launched into financial terminology that made my head spin. Clara nodded along, completely at ease. "We should establish a trust immediately," Jason concluded. "I'll need power of attorney to manage the investments effectively." "Power of attorney?" I echoed. "That seems extreme for investment advice." Clara touched my arm. "Mom, this is standard practice. Jason knows what he's doing." "I'd like to think about it," I said firmly. "Maybe get a second opinion." Jason and Clara exchanged a look that sent a chill through me. "Of course," he said smoothly. "Take your time. But the markets wait for no one." Walking to the car, Clara exploded. "Why are you being so difficult? Jason is trying to help. Why are you pushing this so hard?" I countered. "The money just appeared in our lives yesterday. Because I don't want to see you waste it." She snapped. The word waste hung between us like a slap. Script part separator, equals. In the following week, I noticed Clara had suddenly become very attentive, calling daily, bringing dinner over, asking about my plans. It would have been touching if it didn't feel so calculated. I decided to do my own research. I contacted 3 financial advisors recommended by the local business association, not telling Clara about any of them. The consensus was clear. Jason's proposed fees were exorbitant, and the power of attorney request was completely unnecessary. Then I made a discovery that turned my world upside down. I was at my computer paying bills when I decided to look up Jason Thomas. His LinkedIn profile mentioned he'd worked at Morrison Financial for 7 years. The same firm where Clara's ex-boyfriend Mark had worked. A coincidence? Maybe. But then I found a photo on Jason's Instagram, him and Clara at what looked like a resort, his arm around her waist, her head on his shoulder. The caption, "Weekend getaway with this one." #blessed. The date, 6 months ago. My hands shook as I kept scrolling. More photos. Dinners. Vacations. They weren't just friends, they were a couple. And from the timestamps, they had been for at least a year. Why would Clara hide this relationship? Why introduce him as her friend? The next morning, I called Diane. "I need you to be honest with me," I said. "Did you know Clara was dating someone named Jason?" The pause told me everything. "Eva, I thought you knew. They've been together for almost 2 years. 2 years. Richard hadn't even been gone for 5. Why would she hide him from me?" Diane sighed. "I don't know. But I've met him once at a charity thing. He seemed intense. Very focused on status, money." The pieces were falling into place, creating a picture I didn't want to see. I called the lawyer, James Brewster, and requested a private meeting. No Clara, no Jason. Just me. Script part separator, His eyes narrowed when I walked into his office alone. "Mrs. Matthews, I was expecting your daughter to join us." "That's actually why I'm here," I said, settling into the leather chair. "Something doesn't feel right." Brewster leaned forward, folding his hands on the desk. "Go on." I explained about Jason, the hidden relationship, the aggressive push for power of attorney. With each detail, his expression grew more concerned. "Mrs. Matthews, I've been practicing law for 30 years. When family and money intersect, people can become different." "Different how?" "Your Uncle Arthur was very specific about you being the sole beneficiary. Not your daughter. Not atraste. You." He paused. "Has anyone else approached you about the inheritance?" A chill ran through me. "No. Why?" Brewster opened his drawer and pulled out a file. "Because someone inquired about Arthur's will 6 months ago. Before he passed." My mouth went dry. "Who?" "A man named Jason Thomas. He claimed to be representing the family's interests. 6 months ago. When Arthur was still alive." "That's impossible," I whispered. "I didn't even know I was in the will." "Exactly," Brewster said quietly. Walking to my car, my phone buzzed with a text from Clara. "Mom, where are you?" "Jason's waiting at your house with the paperwork." I hadn't told her about any meeting. They were ambushing me. Instead of driving home, I went to the bakery. My sanctuary. The familiar scent of vanilla and yeast centered me as I tried to make sense of what was happening. My phone rang. Clara again. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, a text. "This is ridiculous, Mom. You're acting paranoid. We're trying to help you. Script part separator, I sat in my office at the back of the bakery, surrounded by photographs of happier times. Clara in her graduation cap. Richard and me on our 20th anniversary. The 3 of us at the grand opening of our second location before we had to close it during the recession. My phone buzzed again with a call from Clara. This time, I answered. "Mom, where are you?" Her voice was sharp with irritation. "At the bakery. We've been waiting at your house for an hour. Jason took time off work for this. I didn't agree to meet today." I kept my voice steady. "And I've decided not to work with Jason." The silence was deafening before she exploded. "Are you serious? After everything he's done to prepare? Clara, why didn't you tell me you were dating him?" Another pause. I could almost hear her calculating her response. "It wasn't relevant," she finally said. I wanted you to judge his professional abilities objectively. By hiding your 2-year relationship? My laugh was bitter. Did you think I wouldn't find out? Mom, you're making this weird. Jason is the best person to handle this money. My money, I corrected. Uncle Arthur left it to me, not us. Her breath caught. So that's how it's going to be. After everything Dad and I put into that bakery? After I gave up my scholarship to help when he got sick? De accusation hit like a slap. Clara had deferred college for 1 semester when Richard was first diagnosed, then gone on with a partial scholarship instead of a full ride. We'd never asked her to do that. You chose that, I said quietly. And we remortgaged our house to make sure you could finish without debt. Whatever, Mom. You clearly don't trust me. Jason says. I don't care what Jason says. My voice rose. He contacted Uncle Arthur's lawyer months ago, Clara, before Arthur even died. How did he even know about the inheritance? The silence told me everything. Script part separator, She hung up without answering. I sat there, phone in hand, feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach. My own daughter had been plotting behind my back, waiting for an old man to die, positioning her boyfriend to take control of money that wasn't even hers. I called Brewster back immediately. I need to secure this inheritance. Today. His voice was calm. I understand your concern, Mrs. Matthews. I'll expedite the transfer to your accounts. But you should know, your daughter may have legal recourse if she believes she has a claim. What kind of claim? It depends. Has she contributed to your business? Made sacrifices she can quantify? In some states, she could argue she deserves a portion based on family business involvement. My stomach knotted. She helped at the bakery during high school, and she delayed college briefly when her father got sick. Document everything, he advised. Every penny you spent on her education, every contribution she made or didn't make to the family business. And secure your personal papers. I hung up and drove home, half expecting to find Clara and Jason still waiting. The house was empty, but something felt wrong. The drawer in my home office where I kept important documents was slightly ajar. With shaking hands, I checked my passport, birth certificate, property deed. All there. Then I noticed the missing item, Uncle Arthur's original letter about the inheritance. My phone rang. Unknown number. Mrs. Matthews? This is Detective Warren with the Financial Crimes Unit. We're investigating Jason Thomas for multiple counts of elder fraud. Does this name mean anything to you? The floor seemed to tilt beneath my feet. He's my daughter's boyfriend. He's been pressuring me to give him power of attorney over an inheritance I just received. Ma'am, his voice sharpened, do not sign anything. We believe Mr. Thomas has done this before. Multiple times. Script part separator, I felt sick. How deep was Clara involved in Jason's schemes? I got a statement into his case, the detective said. They needed records of my interactions with Jason, copies of any documents he'd given me. 2 days passed with no word from Clara. I changed the locks on my house and the bakery. I moved the few valuables I had to a safe deposit box. Sleep became a luxury I couldn't afford. On the 3rd morning, the doorbell rang at 7:15 a.m. Through the peephole, I saw a young man in a suit holding an envelope. Mrs. Matthews? He called. I have a summons for you. My hands trembled as I opened the document. Clara Matthews versus Eva Matthews. Petition for rightful inheritance. The lawsuit claimed Clara was entitled to half of Uncle Arthur's estate based on family business contributions and sacrifices made during family hardship. She alleged I was mentally unstable and being influenced by unscrupulous advisors who wanted to exclude her. The court date was set for just 3 weeks away. I called Brewster immediately. She's actually suing me, I whispered. I was afraid of this, he said grimly. Her boyfriend is under investigation, so she's trying a different approach. What do I do? Fight back. Hard. I've seen this before. She's counting on you folding to avoid family conflict. I've never even raised my voice to her, I said, tears streaming down my face. This isn't about your parenting, Mrs. Matthews. This is about money changing people. That afternoon, my phone rang with Clara's number. Why are you doing this? I asked without preamble. You forced my hand, Mom. Her voice was cold, unfamiliar. Dad would have wanted me to have part of this money. You know he built that bakery as much as you did. And what about Jason? Has he been arrested yet? A pause. That's a misunderstanding. He'll be cleared. Did you know about his other victims? The older women he scammed? That's a lie, she hissed. You're trying to turn this around because you got caught being selfish. Clara, I pleaded. This isn't you. We can still fix this. The only way to fix this is to give me what I deserve. Otherwise, see you in court. Script part separator ===. After the call ended, I sat staring at the wall, feeling like I was mourning a death, the death of the relationship I thought I had with my daughter. In a way, it was worse than losing Richard. He hadn't chosen to leave me. I threw myself into preparation for court. Brewster connected me with Patricia Goldstein, a family law attorney with 30 years of experience. Her office was less intimidating than Brewster's, filled with plants and photographs of her grandchildren. Mrs. Matthews, I've reviewed your case, she said, adjusting her reading glasses. Your daughter's claim is weak, but emotionally compelling. Juries can be unpredictable with family disputes. What evidence do we need? Patricia spread out a notepad. Everything. Financial records showing your contributions to her education. Proof that you were the primary operator of the bakery. Documentation that your husband intended the business to be yours upon his death. For the next 2 weeks, I barely slept. I dug through decades of tax returns, bank statements, and business records. I found old photographs showing me working 16-hour days at the bakery while Richard was sick. I gathered testimonials from employees who witnessed Clara's limited involvement in the business. Most painfully, I found Richard's journals. In one entry, just months before he died, he'd written, "Eva is the heart and soul of our business. When I'm gone, it will be her legacy to shape as she sees fit." I cried reading those words in his familiar handwriting. 3 days before the court date, Detective Warren called with news. Jason Thomas had been arrested. They'd found evidence of similar schemes with 3 other victims, all women over 50 who had received sudden windfalls. Was my daughter involved? I asked, dreading the answer. We don't have evidence she participated in his other scams, he said carefully. But the text messages between them regarding your inheritance are concerning. I need to see them, I said. They'll be entered as evidence in his case. Your attorney can request them through discovery. Script part separator The morning of the court date arrived with a spring thunderstorm that matched my mood. Patricia met me at the courthouse steps, umbrella in hand. Remember, stay calm no matter what's said. Don't interrupt. Don't show anger, she advised as we walked through security. The courtroom was smaller than I expected, with wooden benches that creaked under every movement. I spotted Clara immediately, sitting beside her attorney, a shark-like woman in her 40s with impeccable makeup and a crimson suit that stood out like a warning sign. What shocked me was seeing Jason there too, out on bail, whispering in Clara's ear. What's he doing here? I hissed to Patricia. Character witness, most likely, she murmured. Don't react. When the judge entered, a stern-looking woman with silver hair, everyone rose. As proceedings began, I couldn't take my eyes off Clara. She wouldn't meet my gaze, staring straight ahead with an expression I couldn't read. Her attorney painted a heart-wrenching picture, a devoted daughter who sacrificed her education to help her dying father, who worked weekends at the family business for years, who was now being cut out of her rightful inheritance by a mother who had fallen under the influence of unscrupulous advisors. Mrs. Matthews has systematically excluded her only child from family business decisions, the attorney claimed. And now, with this windfall inheritance, she continues this pattern of exclusion. Clara took the stand, tears welling up on cue as she described staying home from college when Richard first got sick. I gave up a full scholarship to Princeton, she said, voice breaking. Dad always said we were building the bakery for the future, for me. My hands clenched into fists under the table. That was a lie. Richard had never said any such thing. Next came the bombshell. Clara's attorney produced a document, supposedly a letter from Richard written shortly before his death, expressing his wish that Clara inherit the business when the time was right. Patricia stiffened beside me. "That's not in the evidence they submitted," she whispered, scribbling a furious note. The signature looked like Richard's, but something was off. I'd seen his signature on thousands of documents over our 25 years together. This wasn't quite right. Script part separator, equals. When Patricia objected to the unexpected document, the judge called both attorneys to the bench. After a heated whispered conference, the judge ruled that since we hadn't been given proper time to authenticate the letter, it would be temporarily excluded pending verification. As the proceedings continued, Patricia began our counterattack methodically. She presented bank statements showing the $42,000 we'd paid for Clara's education after her sacrifice. She showed payroll records proving Clara had only worked at the bakery for pay during summers, totaling less than 6 months of actual employment over 10 years. Most damaging was the evidence about Jason. Patricia had obtained permission to enter the detective's findings as relevant to the case. "Your Honor, we have evidence that Mr. Thomas, who appears to be orchestrating this lawsuit, has a pattern of targeting women who receive inheritances," Patricia said, her voice steady. Clara's face went white as the detective took the stand. He described Jason's methodology in clinical terms, how he would research potential targets, insert himself into their lives through connections, then manipulate them into giving him control of their assets. "And in this case," the detective continued, "we recovered text messages between Mr. Thomas and Ms. Matthews dating back 6 months, discussing plans to secure Mrs. Matthews' inheritance before it was even known to exist." The courtroom erupted in whispers. Clara stared at the floor, her shoulders slumped. "I would like to read one such message," Patricia said, holding up a printout. "From Jason Thomas to Clara Matthews, dated February 12th. Your mom won't know what hit her. Once we get POA, we can move half to our accounts before she realizes what's happening. Old Arthur won't last the summer." I felt physically ill. The date was 2 months before I'd even received notification of the inheritance. Clara had known, had been planning. When it was Clara's turn for cross-examination, she seemed smaller somehow, less confident. Patricia approached her with Richard's actual journals. Script part separator, equals. "Ms. Matthews," Patricia began, holding the journal, "I have here your father's actual diary, with entries from the last months of his life. Would you like to hear what he actually wrote about the bakery's future?" Clara's eyes darted to her attorney, who looked equally alarmed. "Objection! Relevance!" Her attorney called. "Overruled," the judge said. "I'll allow it." Patricia opened the journal to a marked page. March 15th, 5 years ago. Had the talk with Clara today about the bakery. She made it clear she has no interest in running it after I'm gone. Says her marketing career is her priority. I respect her honesty. The business will be Eva's to run or sell as she sees fit. She's earned that right. Clara's face crumpled. I forced myself to watch, even as my heart broke all over again. "Is this your father's handwriting?" Patricia asked gently. "Yes," Clara whispered. "Did you tell your father you weren't interested in the bakery?" A long pause. "Yes." "So your testimony about your father building the business for your future was?" Clara looked at me directly for the first time. Her eyes were filled with tears, but I saw something else there too. Not remorse. Calculation. "I may have misremembered," she said carefully. "And this letter, supposedly from your father?" Patricia held up the document Clara's side had produced. "Did you help create this?" Objection. Clara's attorney shouted. "That's accusatory and speculative." "Your Honor," Patricia countered, "the handwriting analysis we've just received shows the signature was traced from a genuine document, but is not authentic." The judge leaned forward. "Ms. Matthews, I'm going to ask you directly. Did you forge this document?" Clara stared at the judge, then at Jason, whose face had gone ashen. The courtroom held its collective breath. Her voice faltered. "Jason said it would help our case." The judge's gavel came down with finality. "This court does not tolerate fraud. Ms. Matthews, you are facing potential perjury charges." She turned to me with unexpected compassion. "Mrs. Matthews, this court finds no merit in the plaintiff's claims. The inheritance shall remain solely yours as intended. The spectators erupted into whispers as Clara collapsed into her seat. Jason was already edging toward the door when 2 officers blocked his path. As we left the courthouse, rain still falling, I found myself standing face to face with Clara on the steps. "Mom," she whispered, mascara streaking her cheeks. "I didn't mean for it to go this far." I looked at my daughter, this stranger wearing her face. "Yes, you did. What happens now?" she asked, her voice small. "You face the consequences of your choices," I replied. "Just like I've taught you since you were little." 3 months later, I sit in my renovated bakery, watching the morning sunlight stream through new windows. Jason received 8 years for fraud. Clara got community service and probation after testifying against him. The inheritance has been put to good use, expanding the bakery, creating a scholarship fund in Richard's name, and establishing a foundation to help elderly victims of fraud. Clara and I speak occasionally now. Formal, stilted conversations. Trust is like porcelain. Once shattered, the cracks always show even when repaired. But I'm learning that sometimes the most painful endings make way for unexpected beginnings. Yesterday, I received a handwritten apology letter from Clara. It's a start. Perhaps someday, we'll bake together again.